Okay.
Because, no, someone did ask when he was doing that, like, I forget, he was at that thing with his mom and, like, had to answer a question.
Yeah.
I don't know what the question was,
Yeah.
but his answer did not
either.
answer that question at all. Like, when I tell it, like, that was one of those examples of him just going on a rant that, like, has nothing to do with the question. And again, there were, like, a couple good nuggets in there, but most of it was, like, didn't answer my question, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I will say, in that way, he could be a politician in his not answering questions. But, like, in every other way, no. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dell.
And this is the Black Catch-Up, where we're catching up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more conservative religious childhood.
All right, so today... So today we finished up the Jeen-Yuhs documentary with part 3, Awakening.
Yes, we did. Up in the corner, I'll have the playlist for the first 2 installments so that you can watch those to catch up on those as well. But yeah, we finished the Jeen-Yuhs Kanye Trilogy. So for these, I read the little Netflix synopsis blurby thing just because it's a different one each time. So for Awakening, it says, after multiple college dropout Grammy wins, the documentary looks complete, but life, death, and fame get in the way till 2 paths cross once more.
Okay.
So for documentaries, we ask different questions than like regular films. So the first one is, what did you learn from this film, and did you gain new insight?
Maybe I guess I'll kick it off. Like, as a Kanye fan, I didn't learn too much from this one. I thought like Cudi was very like out of the way for like the bulk of it, and then it kind of caught up to now. And so as someone who like does follow like I consider myself a Kanye fan. I probably follow him more than most people. Don't support everything he does, of course, but like I don't think I got too much new out of this one. There was still I still thought there was some good behind the scenes like in studio footage. You know, I especially liked toward the end him and Kid Cudi. That album they worked on, probably one of my favorite albums, like just ever. Yeah, so that was nice to see that like that kind of behind the scenes. But I don't think I like learned too much new, especially again because Cudi was kind of out of the picture and not really as behind the scenes as he was in like the first 2 installments of this one.
Yeah. I said the same thing, and that kind of upset me because, as I've said the past 2 ones, I'm not a Kanye stan or fan or follower or anything like that. Most of what I learned about Kanye is when it's like just bombarded on like Twitter or the news or something like that. So I just didn't learn anything new. Like you said, I did enjoy some of the like in-studio stuff where you get like behind the scenes on some of the albums. But because Cudi hadn't talked to Kanye in 6 years for like a huge stretch of time, arguably a very like intense time where Kanye was like at the height of his Kanye-ness. He didn't talk to him. So it's kind of like we're missing a lot of that insider insight. So yeah, he didn't give any new insight. And I also, this was bad for me because I could tell that the series was meant to end after the 2nd episode.
Oh yeah,
I could
definitely.
tell. I could totally tell. He like mentioned it in the beginning, and I was like, "You actually didn't need to say that because from what you're showing me, I can tell you meant to end it after the after the 2nd episode." I was like, "Yeah."
Because again, it's like we get to the end of the last one where he gets the Grammy, and then we essentially like do like a montage time skip until pretty much present day. Like, I think maybe it started slowing down again in like 2016, but like at that point, like everyone's on Twitter. Like we saw all this happen at this point, you know?
Yeah.
So like I don't know who was watching this that didn't also like see all this go down on Twitter, you know?
Yeah. Because like around that time, social media was getting like huge. So like we didn't see anything new. And what I thought was going to happen, which I don't know if this is egg on my face for thinking it, but I thought Cudi would have given some insight as an outsider who knew Kanye before and is like, oh, I can tell such and such, or I could tell he's hurting in this way, and da-da-da-da-da. But he didn't. He was just like, yeah, Kanye's doing that. And I was like, I had a kid, and I'm like, that's what?
No, I'm not gonna lie. Cootie kind of annoyed me in this one because or I don't know if annoyed is the right word, but like he just kept saying that like again, like we're all watching this at the same time. Like he was kind of no different than like our perspective of like sitting at home watching this go down on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he would just kind of add those little comments like, yeah, as someone who used to know Kanye, I hated seeing him like this. I just wished he was okay. And he literally said that after like every fucked up thing Kanye did. And I was like, all right, like that's not really adding anything to this documentary. We get it, y'all are friends, but like, I wish him the best too. You know, like again, like you're not really adding anything. You know.
He wasn't. That was the thing. I was getting annoyed because I think after the first episode, I was like, I wonder how long it'll be till I hate Kanye. And I didn't hate Kanye in this one. I hated Cootie more than anything because I was like, well, what are we even doing? You're not like offering an insight. You're kind of like, I knew the documentary had to go on. And I'm like, but why? You're not doing anything. You're just splicing together news pieces and audio and like apparently making documentaries for every rapper out there right now.
Yeah.
So, next question is, describe a moment or scene in the film that you found particularly disturbing or moving. What was it about that scene that was especially compelling for you?
Yeah, I guess you can go first for this one.
Yeah, I could start for this one. So, this is going to be obvious, but Donda, she's been the star of my compelling and, like, moving ones every single time. But what especially got me was the whole Hey Mama thing when he, like, first performed it on the Oprah Winfrey show for her. That must have been so special because everyone loved Oprah, especially Black women. So it's like to have a song about you performed on Oprah's show while they're in the audience, that must have been wild for her. But also, when they were, like, wrapping it together in the kitchen, I think it was after her death, and it was just, like, a video from before. That was the cutest. I can't stress how cute I found that scene. And then, I guess a disturbing one for me was, I don't know if this is too political, but Cootie's response to Kanye saying he was running for president really dropped the ball with that. Because Kanye was, because they were in the car, and Cootie was like, yeah, I know Kanye doesn't like the word cans. So when he told me he was running for president, all I could say was, you could do anything you set your mind to. I was like,
it's your fault?
Really?
That was my immediate thought. I was like, this is your fault, huh, Cootie? You could have stopped all of this.
I personally wasn't blaming him because, like, Kanye's going to do Kanye, whatever. But just to have someone who was your friend not be like, so what's your, like, why are you doing, like, what's your platform, like, what do you hope to achieve with this? Like, do you understand what being president means? Like, what? That was so upsetting. Yeah. That was probably the most upsetting part of this entire thing.
Yeah. That was fun. I'll second both of those. Again, Donda was a huge star. Those, like, every moment of them two on screen were so, like, just cute. Like, Kanye, even, like, his whole demeanor changes when he's standing next to his mom.
I know.
And, like, just seeing that was, like, that was, like, a great part again.
He becomes such a soft boy for his mom.
No, he really does. He really does.
It's adorable.
And Hey Mom was actually probably, like, a top 5 Kanye song for me, in terms of my,
I'd
like,
never
personal
heard it,
favorites.
And I was like, oh, maybe I should listen to this song now.
But I'm pretty sure, I think I've actually, like, seen the Oprah performance prior to this documentary kind of thing. So yeah, no, okay. I do love that song. And then I also second the disturbing part. Pretty much once it got political, it got kind of like cringy I thought.
Yeah.
Like there was that moment in the car where he was like super hype about like an endorsement from like Tucker Carlson, and I was like,
ooh.
I guess. But the other disturbing moment I had, aside from like most of the political stuff, in the beginning when Cootie and Kanye are at that like after Grammy party, and Kanye like doesn't get Cootie's name right, and like I couldn't really tell what the situation was there. If I assume he was drunk and like got it wrong the first time, but then I thought it got kind of awkward, and like especially because like this is coming off of like Cootie, you know, doing his little voiceovers where he's like, yeah, I haven't seen Kanye in years, you know? I was just hoping I could still get around. You know, like, saying things like that. And then Kanye, like, gets his name wrong several times. And then after, he's like, yeah, it kind of hurt Kanye getting my name wrong. And I'm like, damn, like, it's kind of awkward. But, so that was the disturbing moment I had.
Oh, okay.
That just made me uncomfortable.
I think I missed the first instance of it. But I remember around the end when they were talking to his, like, I'm gonna say she was a spiritual advisor because I really didn't know her role. But she called him Cody, and then Kanye was like, "No, it's Cootie. I know I said Cody. That was wrong. It's Cootie." And I was like, "Oh, has he been saying his name wrong the whole time?" Also,
no, that
who was
happened
this woman?
too. Yeah.
I didn't understand her role, but that was.
Oh no, that lady. She was the designer for the sneakers. She was like.
Oh, okay.
She was something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The only reason I said spiritual advisor is because they like sat on the floor and it looked like they prayed for a sec. So that's why I thought she was a spiritual
I think that was Kanye. I don't. That might have been Kanye's doing. Honestly, I don't know. It was hard to tell. It was hard to tell by that point of this documentary.
Okay. So, did anything in the film surprise you? Was anything familiar?
Yeah, kind of same thing as the first answer. I thought everything was kind of familiar. Like again, like we were watching this all go down on the internet. Like tabloids have been covering this. I guess the one thing that did kind of surprise me, and this is something I've like wanted to bring up over all these documentaries, is like people just let Kanye talk. Like the amount of times he's like sitting with like a few people and just like talking and like no one's interrupting, no one's like giving him weird look. Like I don't understand. Like maybe I just don't have that kind of like juice or whatever. But like I don't know the last time someone just let me talk straight for like 5 minutes. You know, like and like it's like when I'm listening to it. Like there was that scene, or especially in this one, there kept being scenes where like Kanye would like really start ranting and then Cootie would cut the camera off, and it's like if I'm listening to someone ranting and they're like not really making any like sense or like making any points, I'm at least like making faces or like I don't know, it's just like it just seems so weird to me that people just like sat there and just listened to him kind of talk until he finds his point or something, you know. But
yeah, I could get that. I get that. I think I ramble on. I think I ramble on more than you, and I definitely get that from our dad. But yeah, I definitely felt that too, because I said that this section, this like installment, was dominated by like long Kanye monologues and news montages. And like you said, Kanye didn't always have a point. He was kind of just like talking, and then and then people would be like, and I guess people maybe they thought he was in the middle of a manic episode, so they didn't want to say anything. I know that's why Cootie cut the camera a couple times at the end. He was like, it didn't feel right filming him at this point, which I respect, but so many times, just like throughout the entire thing, he was just talking or just singing, and it's like, no one was ever like making faces. No one was giving any. No one was even doing like the nonverbal cues, like yeah. Like there was very little of that. No one would like interrupt him to have him clarify a point, which honestly I would do if someone was rambling to me for a long time, especially if I cared about them and I wanted to know what they were talking about. I'd be like, "What do you mean by that?" No one said that ever, which I find mind-boggling because I thought, what are you talking about so many times?
Yeah, but, and I will give him that, like, every once in a while he does have, like, a little gem in there or something that is kind of like, okay, that sentence made sense, you know, or like, that was a profound statement, you know, but, like, it's, like, very much buried in, like, a jumble of, like, words, you know, just, like,
that was a needle in a haystack finding that. Okay. If you could ask anyone in this film a single question, who would you ask and what would you want to know?
I guess you can go first for this one.
I didn't even have a single question. I had multiple, and they were all for Cootie. Mine was Cootie. What was the point of this? Cootie, why did you not speak to Kanye for 6 years? Because that one was kind of an abrupt. I guess the way he framed it was a bit of an abrupt change. It was like he was in the studio with him. He was in the studio with Kanye because he was filming for some other guy, and then Kanye was like, and then Cootie says, Kanye told me something he'd never told me my entire time of knowing him. He said, don't film me. So he stopped filming him. And then he kind of makes it seem as though that's why he stopped talking to Kanye. And I'm like, there's no way that's the whole story.
It almost seemed like he stopped before. Because it seemed like he was only there for that, like, album, to record the documentary for that album. And then once the album came out, it seemed like I think there was a scene, it might have been in the second part where Kanye was like, don't travel with me anymore. Or like, I won't need you around.
I thought it was because there was no room or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that happened. Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
So I thought that they were still like at least I thought they were still at least friendly at that point. But then it got to the studio scene and Kanye was like, stop recording me. And then Cootie, I guess, the way it seemed in the film, we don't know how it was in real life. The way it seemed in the film, though, was that like Cootie took it as this big slight and was like, I guess he never wants to talk to me ever again.
Cootie did take it as a big slight. I don't think it was. I don't think
so
I think
either.
He was just like going through it, like busy, get the camera out of my face kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, he did kind of hype that up
like,
a little bit.
what happened with that? And then it just seemed as though the entire 6 years, because it's the 6 years he doesn't talk to Kanye. I'm like, you don't check in once, like at all. Like, there's no. What would have been really cinematic would have been like a bunch of voicemails you leaving Kanye throughout the years. Like, hey Kanye, I heard you're doing such and such a thing. Let me know. Just let me know if you need anything. I'm always here for you, bro. Beep. Hi Kanye, it's Cootie again. I just heard you had a daughter.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Da da da. Beep. Hi Cootie. Like, that would have been. I would have done that if I were making this. I also would have stopped after 2. But I would have done that if I absolutely thought that we had so much more to get from Kanye that I wanted to do. That's what I would have done. And then my last question is actually for Kanye. And I'm kind of curious about his relationship with his father now. Because towards the end, he kind of talks to him for a second. And he's, like, mentioning dishes, like, actual, like, dishware. And I was like, his face does get a little softer when he talks about his father, but not, like, it's nowhere near as soft as it was when he talked about Donda.
No, definitely not.
So I'm kind of curious about his relationship with his father, especially with the whole abortion thing and how apparently his father wanted to abort him. And I'm just curious as to what, because it seems as though they're in an okay place at the documentary. Again, Cootie didn't give any new insight to anything. So I'm kind of curious about that now.
Okay, yeah. I was definitely curious about the father too, because I think that was like his first time showing up in this documentary. Like, I think there was one other scene in an earlier part with him, like briefly, maybe. But
I don't remember
that seemed
one
to be
earlier,
the first.
But yeah, this seemed like the first one.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't in here a lot. But yeah, so I would ask that too. My question was I guess kind of more like not really that like related to the documentary, but because Kid Cudi was in this, and like I said, like that album they did was one of my favorite. I would just ask him what it was like working with Kanye on that album, because that album probably came out at one of like his like most peak in a manic episode, as the people say, kind of moments of his life.
Yeah,
I think it was one summer and he ended up dropping like 4 albums. Like he dropped an album like every week. Kanye. So Kanye dropped an album, and then the next week he and Kid Cudi dropped an album. Then the next week he like produced an album for Pusha T. Then the next week he produced Tiana Taylor's album.
I remember that. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah. So this was like that stretch. So I would just want to know what it was like to like work with Kanye in that stretch, because like that was probably like peak mad scientist kind of working, I imagine.
Yeah.
That peak like, oh, Kanye is a genius, but he's crazy. Like I imagine that was probably like peak, in within that kind of thing. So I would just like to ask Kid Cudi what that was like.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Okay, so the final question for these docuseries is, not the final one, sorry, but the next one is, who would you recommend this film to?
Yeah, I said, like, no one. Like, I don't know. Like, the only thing I had written down was, like, maybe someone who voted for Kanye, but, like, no one.
This doesn't even dig too deep into that.
Yeah, it doesn't, campaign. But, like, I don't know who this would be for, I don't know who this would be for, because I don't, like, it wasn't really for Kanye fans, like, and if you're not a Kanye fan, it definitely wasn't for you, and, like, so I don't know who this was really for, or who I would recommend this to, but
the others at least had an air of inspiration around them. This one definitely didn't. So I said I recommend this to people who don't like silence when they do something. Pet owners who have to leave the house for 2 hours and don't want their pet to be scared, like those kinds of things. Like, this is essentially white noise. Like, you didn't get too much out of this one. So the final question for real this time is, how would you rank these installments?
Yeah, so for me, it's easily 1, 2, 3. But I will also add that, like, this could have just been 1 2-hour documentary, and I think it would have gone a lot better. Because I didn't even, part 3 was definitely a waste of time. Part 2, I thought just, like, had the very weird pacing where we're, like, sitting in the dentist office for 20 minutes, and then, like, I don't even remember what happened after that, but, like, they definitely could have just, like, made more cuts and produced, like, a very solid 2-hour documentary that just, like, covers that first album,
Yeah.
So yeah, but definitely 1, 2, 3 is the order.
Yeah, I said the same thing. 1, 2, 3. They progressively got worse, which isn't great. And like I said at the very beginning, you can tell Cootie meant to stop this at 2.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he mentions in the beginning, he was like, yeah, I got everything from the College Dropout release. Can I release it? And Kanye says, no, I kind of don't feel like, I feel like I'm acting and I'm not being myself. And I was like, okay, valid reason not want to release something. So that's when you like get in the editing chair and really edit the crap out of this so that it's really, really good by the time it's time to release. Not, oh, I'm just going to add more footage because the story's not over.
Yeah.
It was over. Like, the story was actually over. I won't say he made a concise documentary, but he, like, kind of had his story that he wanted to tell in the beginning. And he actually, in the beginning, it seemed like he had an objective. Like, for this one, he kind of was like, I knew we weren't done. And I was like, who said that? You were done. You were done.
This is like pure speculation, but I imagine like Kanye's ego fed into this being a docuseries. You know, I imagine like, because we're now in this era of docuseries, you can't just have a documentary. So I imagine he sees, oh, Michael Jordan got a docuseries, this person got a docuseries, I'm Kanye, I need a docuseries, you know, and so then we get this, you know, we're like 2 hours of quality content stretched out into 6 hours or whatever, or 4.5, whatever it ended up being. So, yeah, I think this could have definitely been just a 1-part thing, you know?
Just done really well.
Yeah. And I imagine that was probably closer to Cootie's vision, too.
I do, too. Because he explicitly says, I was done, and then he put the camera back on again for some reason.
Yeah. But, I guess that was part 3, Awakening of the Jeen-Yuhs documentary. Or Jeen-Yuhs Part 3 Awakening, something like that. So,
I also felt as though the title didn't tie in that much for this one. He tried to like make it tie in at the end.
Is like no one thinks Kanye's woke, so like he did have his awakening, but like he was awakening to something totally different, you know, than most people like wanted him to awake to. Like when most people say, "Oh, I'm woke," like it's something totally different than what this man Kanye's on. So like I felt the awakening, but it just like. We saw we see where Kanye's at now, so we like know.
Yeah.
Anyways, YouTube housekeeping, like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell for notifications. If you have any movie suggestions for us, you can leave them in the comments down below. If you like have any docu-series or anything you want us to break down, we could also do that too. We do movies on Tuesdays and Fridays. All of our socials will be linked in the description box down below, and we will see you next time to catch up. Bye. Oh, but as promised, I listened to that 10-minute song you told me to. What was it called?
Last Call, I think.
Yeah, Last Call. And I actually enjoyed it. I do kind of want to go and listen to the College Dropout album all the way. I had listened to some of it. Like, there were a couple songs I know. I also, because of this, I listened to Through the Wire. And to me, it sounds like his jaw is wired. So I'm like, I get why you called it that. Like, I can really feel it. But I almost feel as though instead of this, we could have just had him singing Last Call, and it would have had a better effect.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Like the first part was the best part.
Yeah. I did like the slam poetry-esque feel of it, where he's just like talking over a nice beat he made.
Yeah.
Although the ending where it kind of like glitches. One, I don't like technology glitching ever. Like, if technology ever looks wonky or like warped, I hate it. I get so scared. But I also was like, oh my god, is my thing broken? Like, what's going on? But other than that part that like freaked me out, I did enjoy it. Okay, Kanye is very talented. Mm-hmm. Like, even though he's threatening Pete Davidson right now, of all people, I still think he's very talented.